I'm going to talk about the utility, energy, and transmission planning that's being done today, and then I'm going to offer a few thoughts on state energy planning based on my experience as an old practitioner. So, big focus for the Commission is planning to meet future customer needs through utility planning. Now, we require our 6 regulated utilities, PGE, Pacific, Idaho Power, Northwest Natural, Cascade, and Avista, to prepare 20-year integrated resource plans. And these plans spell out when and what kind of resources, electricity and natural gas supply options should be developed to meet customer needs reliably and affordably. The utilities must thoroughly assess all resource options, all possible options for meeting customer demand, including conservation. They must provide ample opportunity for public involvement and comment. And our review of the plans are very rigorous. We acknowledge or don't acknowledge the utility is proposing smart actions. There are 3 main goals and objectives of the integrated resource plans. One is to develop the best mix of resources to meet customer needs at the lowest cost and risk over the long haul. 2 is to make sure, and this is critical, 2 is to make sure that our energy systems are safe, secure, and reliable, and that customers continue to get high-quality service. And 3 is to meet all applicable state, federal, local requirements. Increasingly, state and federal law is dictating what utilities can or can't do to meet future demands. So I give 3 examples there. 1, Oregon utilities cannot build or buy from new power plants now. We cannot build a new power plant in the state of Oregon, and we must comply with renewable portfolio standards and solar PV standards. So let me talk about the Commission's planning standpoint. And our bottom line is sort of the customer's pocketbook, now and for the future. So we focus on the dollar costs that are incurred by the utility and its customers to meet demand. We do not explicitly count the environmental and social costs of risk of energy, but we do consider the dollar cost of regulation, including the financial risk of future carbon regulation. We do not consider the job impacts or general economic impacts of resource decisions. And except in limited cases, we don't call on utility ratepayers to pick up the tab for research and development of immature but promising energy technologies, however promising. So the next 2 slides are going to basically show the fundamentals. This is at a 10,000-foot level of the components of these plans. Number 1, a couple of points. 1, the plans include thorough assessments of the amount and costs of resources a utility can rely on to meet demand. 2, we stress managing risk and uncertainty in planning. We require them to assess the costs and risks of different mix of resources over a wide range of energy futures, and then identify their preferred resource portfolio or mix of resources after all of this stress testing. And then the plans include a 2-year action plan that identifies actions to develop the preferred resource portfolio. As part of the IRPs, we also do transmission planning, and we also do natural gas pipeline planning. I'm just going to focus here on transmission, that the utilities, any proposed projects are evaluated and considered in the utility plans. The utilities must conduct a thorough benefit cost analysis of the lines and evaluate any alternatives to the lines. At the same time, because we're part of one integrated system, as Joan pointed out, we can't look at a proposed power line in isolation, so we do regional transmission planning as well. There are consortiums of utilities called sub-regional planning groups that develop 10-year transmission plans for their respective their combined service territories throughout the West. The Western Electricity Coordinating Council, which is the overseer of grid reliability for the entire West, all 11 Western states, is developing 10-year and 20-year transmission plans for the entire West, including British Columbia, Alberta, and northern Mexico, and I'm chairing a group of representatives from all the western states and provinces that's providing input into the development of these transmission plans. So let me turn to state energy planning and offer some brief observations. These are my observations, having been based on my experience in producing many plans in the dim past. First, if we're going to develop a state plan, it should build on and support our existing planning. The Utility Integrated Resource Planning is the Northwest Power Council plan and regional transmission planning. We don't want to supplant these efforts, we want to complement it. 2, I think the #1 policy issue we need to address if we're developing a plan is carbon. Right now, the continued regulatory uncertainty about what our carbon goals are and what the form of regulation is going to be, or whether there's going to be regulation, is the biggest policy challenge that we're facing practitioners. At the same time, this isn't necessarily due to a lack of planning or coordination, but it's a good part of it is our lack of clear direction. If we knew the direction, we could develop the strategies. Three, I think, and I'm going to echo Joan again and Bob, is energy efficiency should be a foundation of any plan we produce, and that we should be looking strategically at the gamut of actions to acquire all cost-effective conservation. I just list many of the different elements of a strategy for acquiring all cost-effective energy efficiency here in the state of Oregon. Fourth and last, I think there are a number of potential policy issues that could be addressed in the plan, but two are right. You heard about one effectively in your first panel. One is addressing our transportation oil issues in a unified way. The other is developing a strategy to encourage the development of new and innovative technologies and bring down their overall costs. So those are just some very brief observations on a state energy plan, and that concludes my testimony.